Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Manganello, your librarian, and I'm going to give you a quick reminder of how to evaluate if something is credible when you find it on the internet. So, on my screen you'll notice I have a question. Which of the following statements is true? Statement 1, I can avoid the coronavirus by eating more garlic. Or Statement 2, I can avoid the flu by eating more onions. What do you think? Which is credible? Well, if you said that both of these statements are false, you're absolutely right. But that doesn't mean that both of these false statements weren't circulated on the internet, okay? Or in this case, in print. In 1918, when we had our last flu outbreak of the size and proportion of our current virus, one of the things that people thought might help you from getting the flu or prevent you from getting the flu is eating onions. In fact, it even was circulated in local newspapers. This was a patriotic drive against the flu. Eat more onions, one of the best preventatives for the influenza. Carload of onions will be on sale on siding at Bessemer Freight Station today and tomorrow. Get your onions, folks. They'll keep you from getting the flu. So just like back in 1918, people would use the newspaper to get their news, we use sources like the internet. But has our society actually increased its ability to distinguish between credible and fake news stories when we see them? Here's one that circulated last February as the coronavirus was first joining us here in the United States. People believed that garlic would help prevent from them getting the coronavirus. So the World Health Organization, which is a credible organization that talks about how we can stay healthy across the world, they had to put out an ad campaign to keep people from thinking that that was actually factual information. So it was circulating on the internet, and the World Health Organization had to tell people that that was not a credible idea to use garlic to prevent the coronavirus. So those are just two examples. Today you are going to be taking time to look at a web quest that's going to give you an opportunity to look at credible sources and think about what might be credible for your own use. So before you get started, we're going to review how to determine if a health news source is credible. So the first thing I want you to think about when you think of the word, I want a picture to immediately spring to your mind when you think, is this credible? And I love this one, the Credible Hulk. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry because I always back up my rage with facts and documented sources. So the best way you can fight whether or not someone is putting something out there that may not be credible is to give them the facts and information from documented sources that are going to dispute whatever it is they're saying. Fake information, fake news is always best battled by someone that is well prepared with documented facts that come from a credible resource. So what kind of credible resources are out there? Well, for health information, you could absolutely look in a database, and we have some health databases that your teacher will share with you. We can also go to a credible website. Now, you noticed I talked about the World Health Organization. You can use a government agency, a foundation, a nonprofit, an educational site, or a hospital or medical association. Those may all be places to get credible information on your disease or on your health concern. But you want to stay away from less than credible websites. That includes a lot of people who post to social media who don't have a background that allows them to make a credible statement. You want to stay away from blogs, web search engines like Ask or About, where anyone can answer your health-related question, and even online encyclopedias like Wikipedia. In that case, not all of the information is wrong, but getting it from a credible place where you know there are scientists and doctors who are putting out that information is always a better plan. So we're going to be looking at web evaluation today. When you're thinking about what you're using off of the resource, there are 4 questions I always ask myself. It's who, what, when, and where. Who wrote the website? Are they experts on their particular content that they're writing on? What's the website all about? Have I found an article about health on a website that mainly looks at fashion? I may want to think about whether or not that's a credible place to get information. When was the website made? Was it published last week? Was it published a month ago? Was it published 10 years ago? Make sure that you're taking the most credible information, especially for things like, if you think about our current situation with the coronavirus, you always want to get most current information because that's going to give you the best idea of how to proceed. And where the website came from. So you want to make sure that the source that's behind it, if it's an author or if it's an institution, is a place that you could trust. So when you know all of that, we're going to evaluate, I'm going to do a quick Google search so you can see how I evaluate a piece of information that I find on the internet. And I'm going to use this health evaluation worksheet, which is actually linked out of your WebQuest, as my guide. So I'm going to open that so you can see it. And you can see it here on my preview. So we're just going to remember that these are all the questions we just looked at on that previous slide. Who wrote the website? What the website is all about? When the website was made? Where it came from? And why? Why should we use this site as opposed to another site? Why? What makes it better? Okay? So once you have the answers to all of those questions, you know that it's a credible source. So let's take a look at a Google search for health topics just to find out what we can get. I just did a quick search for coronavirus, and here's what I want you to notice. The top stories are coming from recognized news organizations like NPR, CNN, the New York Times. So I know that these are credible sources because remember, I'm thinking about where the information is coming from, what the institution is, and when it was published. And you can see that here too. It tells you when this was published. Now, look at this one. Coronavirus in the U.S., latest map and case count. Now, it says March 3rd, 2020. Let's see if this is a constantly updating resource or if this is something we should think about. All right, look, it tells us right at the top. Updated January 28th, 2021. So that's very current since today is, in fact, the 28th when I'm making this recording. So you want to keep that in mind. When it's happening, who's putting the information out there? Let's scroll a little bit and see if we see anything that's not credible or things I might avoid. You can see a lot of people have been searching for coronavirus, so much so that the Google people have actually built in bunches of other things. Here's our World Health Organization. Remember, we talked about World Health as a place that might dispute information that's fake or not credible. We have a Middlesex County right off of Twitter. Twitter's not a bad place to get your information from. Just make sure you're using a credible source like Middlesex County or the CDC or Health and Human Services from our U.S. government. All of those might give you credible information. As you scroll down, you can also see you can go right to the New Jersey State Organization. So that might also give you a credible piece of information. All right, but you want to keep in mind that the farther you scroll, you get into information that now you may have to make some choices on. It looks like coronavirus has a lot of topics that relate to the government, which tells me that the state organizations have really done a lot to try to put out credible information. So let's try a different search term. Let's try the flu. See what we get for that. All right, since the flu has not been so popular this year, Google hasn't done as much with their page. But you can see we have the CDC as our top hit, which is a good, credible resource. We have a lot of CDC. We also have the Today Show, which again, popular news source, but a credible place to get information. Mayo Clinic, again, recognized organization that we know that we're going to get good information from. Medline Plus, another good place to get information from. WebMD, another good, credible place to get information from. So you can choose your information, but you have to make sure that you're the one that's troubleshooting what is credible and what might not be based on your information need. All right, good luck, guys, and make sure as you venture out into the internet that you're going to be judging and evaluating whether or not the resource you're using is credible.